Hey there, and welcome. Let's talk about something that so many of us deal with, but nobody really talks about. It's that constant nagging feeling of phlegm in your throat. You know what I'm talking about? That need to clear your throat all the time, that sticky feeling that's just there. It's more than just annoying, right? It's a nonstop interruption.
And the most frustrating part? You've probably tried it all. Syrups, teas, maybe you've even cut out dairy. But it just keeps coming back. And you're left asking yourself the same question over and over. Why won't this stuff go away? Well, what if I told you the answer might be hiding in a place you'd never ever think to look? In this explainer, we're going to get to the bottom of it.
This just nails it, doesn't it? It's that need to cough right in the middle of a sentence. It's the way it can ruin the taste of a great meal. Or just waking up feeling like you've got a layer of gunk in your throat. It really does affect everything.
Okay, so let's put on our detective hats for a bit. To really solve this mystery, we have to start by looking at the usual suspects. You know, the common culprits that everyone blames first. But for a lot of us, they might not be the whole story.
So we're going to start with these big three. First, there's post-nasal drip, which is a huge one. Then we have chronic dehydration. Sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. And finally, we'll look at the irritants that are all around us in our environment. Let's break them down one by one. So, think of your nose and sinuses like a super advanced air filter for your body. They're constantly producing mucus to trap all the junk, dust, pollen, you name it. And normally, you just swallow it and never even notice. But sometimes, that system just goes into overdrive. It makes way too much mucus, or the mucus gets super thick, and it starts dripping down the back of your throat. This can be kicked off by allergies, for sure, like from pets or pollen, but it can also be triggered by non-allergic stuff, like smoke or even just a sudden change in temperature.
So what can you do about that drip? Honestly, one of the best tools out there is a nasal saline wash. It's basically like giving your sinuses a nice, refreshing shower from the inside. And it's super simple. You just use sterile warm water, mix in some non-iodized salt, and gently flush everything out. It literally washes away all those irritants and thins out the mucus. The relief can be incredible. All right, next suspect. And this is one that is so easy to overlook, just because it's so simple. Dehydration. Ask yourself honestly, are you really drinking enough plain old water every day? Because the answer could be the key you've been searching for.
Here's what's going on. When your body doesn't have enough water, it goes into conservation mode. It starts holding on to every last drop. And that makes all your bodily fluids, including mucus, way thicker and stickier. So if your main complaint is that the phlegm is just impossibly thick, this could be a major clue. Making a real effort to get in 2 to 3 liters of water a day can be an absolute game changer. It just thins everything out so your body can clear it easily.
And just a quick heads up, not all liquids are created equal when it comes to hydration. Some drinks, like too much coffee, alcohol, or sugary sodas, can actually make you lose water. They're diuretics. So while you think you're hydrating, you could actually be working against yourself.
And finally, let's talk about the world around you. The very air you breathe could be part of the problem. You know that super dry air you get from heaters in the winter or AC in the summer? It sucks the moisture right out of your airways, and that thickens your mucus. On top of that, you've got constant irritants like tobacco smoke or pollution. Your body's only defense against that stuff is to create a shield of mucus. But pretty soon, that defense can become a problem itself.
Okay, so we've looked at all the usual suspects. But what if you're sitting there thinking, I do all that stuff and I still have this phlegm? Well, now we get to the plot twist. Because for a surprising number of people, the problem isn't starting in the lungs or the sinuses at all. It's coming from your stomach.
I want you to meet the hidden culprit, Laryngopharyngeal Reflux, or LPR. Most people just call it silent reflux. Here's what's happening. Stuff from your stomach, acid and digestive enzymes, is traveling all the way up your esophagus and splashing into the delicate tissues of your throat and your voice box. And here is the absolute key. It's not just the acid. There's an enzyme called pepsin that comes up too, and that is the real troublemaker. It sticks to your throat tissue and causes this chronic irritation that makes your body produce phlegm 24/7 to try and protect itself.
And this right here, this is why they call it silent reflux. And it's why so many people never figure out what's wrong. When we think of reflux, we think of heartburn, right? That classic burning pain in your chest. But look at the LPR column. The symptoms are totally different. It's a chronic cough, a constant lump in the throat feeling, a hoarse voice, and yep, our old friend, persistent phlegm. Most people with LPR feel zero heartburn.
So if that last slide was a big aha moment for you, this next part is what it's all about.
let's talk about the resolution. We're going to build a real, practical action plan to get some relief. We're not just trying to mask the symptom anymore, we're aiming to heal the irritation that's causing it in the first place.
The #1 weapon in the fight against LPR is your diet. The golden rule is pretty simple. You want to reduce foods that are acidic, spicy, or really fatty because they can either trigger reflux or directly irritate your already sensitive throat. Instead, you want to lean into soothing, low-acid foods. Things like green vegetables, lean baked or grilled proteins, and comforting broths are fantastic. This isn't about being on a restrictive diet forever, it's about giving your throat a break so it can finally heal.
And you have to know, this is a process. It takes time and patience. For the first month or two, you really want to be strict with cutting out those trigger foods to give that inflammation a chance to calm down. After that, you can start to carefully reintroduce things one by one to see what your personal triggers are. The goal is to find a long-term way of eating that works for you and keeps that irritation at bay.
Now, outside of food, there are few lifestyle changes that are total game changers. Elevating the head of your bed is huge, and I don't mean just stacking up pillows. That can actually make it worse. I mean putting blocks under the legs of your bed frame to create a gentle slope. Gravity becomes your best friend, keeping everything down in your stomach. Quitting smoking is non-negotiable, as tobacco is a double whammy. It irritates your throat and weakens your defenses. And finally, using a humidifier, especially in the winter, can add some much-needed moisture to the air and soothe your poor airways.
Now, before we wrap this up, we have to talk about something critical. All this information is designed to empower you, but it is never, ever a substitute for professional medical advice. It is so important to know when you need to stop self-diagnosing and call for backup.
Please pay very close attention to this slide. If you are experiencing any of these red flag symptoms, things like blood in your mucus, real trouble swallowing food, losing weight without trying, or a hoarse voice that just won't go away after a few weeks, you need to see a doctor, period. These can be signs of more serious conditions, and you need a professional to rule them out.
So, we've covered a lot of ground. We've looked at the usual suspects, and we've unmasked a very surprising hidden culprit in silent reflux. You now have a clear roadmap to start investigating what's really going on in your own body and start taking back control. You've got the knowledge. So, my final question to you is, now that you have all the clues, are you ready to solve your case?